Brethren, I pray you sing to the Lord a new song. Sing praise in the assembly of the righteous. Let the saints be joyful in glory. Let them sing aloud on their beds. Let the high praise of God be on the mouths of the saints and a two-edged sword in their hand to execute vengeance on the demonic nations and punishments on those peoples, to bind their kings with chains and their nobles with fetters of iron, to execute on them this written judgment. This honor have all his saints. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Sing to him a new song. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
To see all these pains in the world. How long? Oh, tell me.
Don't ask me just
How
like that.
long?
Don't ask me just like that.
How we supposed to handle the business? We live in animalistic. Your head in the sand when he gives you a chance and you sit on your hands and you miss it. Back when our ancestors broke a covenant, present today we abandoned the mission. Running and running away, but never forgetting them lands still can't go the distance. Get you some quality time, master your body and mind and sharpen your senses. This is a spiritual war, we cooking at higher degrees and different dimensions. When he say he's separating every man, is he simply talking about a division? Or if you really just split every atom, it could be a scripture for nuclear fission. It ain't my business to know, I gotta get it and go. Part of my back who could pardon the Father. I knew when he sent me I would be a bother to those who will glorify living in squalor. Love him a dead desert as long as they get him $1. I love when they ask me a question, I holler. I promise I probably give him 100% of my knowledge. Words, you finna be in some shit you probably never learned in college. You get down this rabbit hole, you better not forget your compass. Yeah, grimy ways. And for that truth, it had me searching all day. Yeah. The desert hot, it's dry today, same shit. World free, my people ride the zombie way. Brainless, thoroughbreed, they should be trying to find a way. Aimless, in the street, they thirsty for some crime today. You should pray, Elohim, I'm busy trying to pave the way. What you say, girl, please? She's too worldly anyway, can't shake. Shoot the breeze, the desert everywhere I go. Super dry, thirsty, where all the wisdom in this world wasteland. Hidden tree, and I heard them waters was living water. Put me out cause I be feeling partial. My son and my daughters be slipping. Yeah, I need me some more for my children. I profit cause they don't be knowing the struggle of fathers. And I don't be showing how nobody bothers. So all they gon' see is I've been a provider. No matter the harbor we living. Pick up a scripture to father my vision. Who need a psychologist when it's a God in your corner that offer forgiveness? No shooting star, no wishing, just Lord willing. If I deal with a misfit, I hope you don't do them too vicious. They don't be knowing the message is hitting. We standing on glory and future can't business. Let's get it. I got a couple of obstacles in the way. Still no side of tree. I go through the prophets to get through the day. Still cold, Hennessy. The Heavenly Father gon' clear me away. Feel no entropy. And they may not vibe with the shit that I say. Still no enemy. Common sense is a given. In this world you created, but everywhere I go, the wisdom get thinner. They losing their leaves in the winter. The summer come around, trees still missing. Guess I just need me some distance. The people need deep in their fitness. Truly I'm speaking, can I get a witness? Yeah. It doesn't hot, it's dry today, same shit. World free, my people ride the zombie way. Brainless, thorough breed, they should be trying to find a way. Aimless, in the street, they thirsty for some crime today. We should pray, Elohim, I'm busy trying to pave the way. What you say, girl, please? She's too early anyway, can't shake. Shoot the breeze, a desert everywhere I go. Super dry, thirsty, where all the wisdom in this world wasteland. In the trees now. Live to win the die to lose now. All my brothers acting loose now. And all my sisters getting flu now. Drone sleeper cells and nukes now. Propaganda on the news now. One for the real Jews now. Everybody know who now. Prelude. All praise the Most High. Without whom I am nothing. Glory to Hamashiach.
I want to give all praise, honor, and glory to the great and one and only Elohim of Israel. Shalom and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertaineth the adoption, the glory, the covenants, the giving of the law, the service of Elohim, and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom, as concerning the flesh, our Mashiach came, who is overall Elohim blessed. Hope all is good and well. Welcome to this fellowship. Want to deal with Paul's letters tonight. We know that this is where a lot of Christians go to justify salvation and redemption and restoration being to all people, right? Not just Israelites. But does Paul's letters contradict what the law and the prophets say? And in order to determine that, we may have to go and look at some of what the law and the prophets establish. But we're going to get into it tonight. Y'all know how we do. Y'all make sure y'all hit the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Want to let the brothers greet the family. We're going to chop it up tonight. What's going on, y'all?
What's good, y'all? Peace, shalom to the nation of Israel, scattered abroad, the Negroes, no Mexicans. Grace and peace to the brothers on the panel, to Israelites in the chat. I am interested in this discussion. Let's get it.
Mm-hmm.
What up, fam? What up? What up, chat? Shalom to everybody. All praise the Most High. Glory to Hamashiach Yahushua. You hit me with you came left field with that one. I wasn't expecting to hit the trees. I mean, I was back here bumping.
Yeah.
I mean, I appreciate that though. Know what I mean, but yeah, man, we're gonna get into it tonight. See what the Holy Spirit, the truth that it leads us to tonight. See what's going on. So, shalom. May this message go out. May the lesson be blessed. Let's get it.
All praise to the Most High, y'all. Shalom to you all in the chat, brothers on the panel. Ready to get it in. All praise to the Most High, y'all, for the things that He done for us, the Negroes scattered to the four corners of the earth. And man, we never ever stop learning. You know, this is why it's good to have debates, because we never ever stop learning. I love it, you know, and I think this is going to be a very, very good lesson for even anybody in the chat. When you think about it, look what it says. It's Paul's letters contradict the law and the prophets. Can't get no better than that. So we got to find out.
Yep, indeed. Shalom to everybody. Again, make sure y'all like, subscribe, everything. One of the things that come to mind when you look at this, for me anyway, is you know how you get a lot of brothers who reject the New Testament. And when you find out why they reject the New Testament, it's on the basis of them believing that Paul was preaching to people who were not Israelites during that time. One of the main misconceptions in the Bible is that when you see the word Gentile, that it automatically denotes someone who is not of an Israelite stock in every single context. All right. We've shown a lot of times where our people became Gentiles by assimilation, by being separated from the covenant, being driven out of the land. That by virtue of that made them Gentiles. And we always compare to today, to make it simple. What would we be technically classified as today? Seeing that we're born in this land, which we deem Babylon biblically, end time Babylon, we were born here. And all of our identity is tied to here in terms of, who we are and how we can identify and move around and, get your driver's license and all that stuff, birth certificate, all that stuff is tied to here. And so what will we be by virtue of that? What will be y'all thoughts, some of y'all thoughts on that?
Most definitely, we will be considered Gentiles, which when we was in Christian church, that's what we call. Actually, they still call themselves Gentiles in the Christian church. So that's exactly what we will be considered. Until we came to the knowledge to know that we are the Israelites. Even though we saying it, people still calling us Gentiles to this day. Even though we can prove it, they still call us Gentiles.
Based on how we operate now and what you just said, like, and even what people just say when you just generally ask them who, what are you or what's your nationality? Most people gonna tell you they're American. They're gonna be like, I'm African American, or they just, Esau just gonna straight up say they're American. I mean, like, how it go, like, it's no different, but none of us is actually that, so.
When you look at the prophecies or the curses in Deuteronomy 28, the Most High said He will send us to the nations to worship wood and stone. So by virtue, when you look at 1 Corinthians 12, being carried away into these dumb idols, by virtue that will make us Gentiles. So when you look at us today, and before we woke up into the truth, what was we doing? Christianity, Islam, and all the religions. I think it's simple.
I want to show you something real quick. This scripture that I like to quote when we open up, Romans 9. It says, I say the truth in Mashiach, I lie not. My conscience also bearing me witness in the Ruach HaKodesh, that I have great heaviness and continual sorrow in my heart, for I could wish that myself were accursed from Mashiach for my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. All right, so who is Paul writing this to? Paul's writing this to the Romans, right? He's writing this to the Romans. That's the title of the epistle of Romans, right? But he says, my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh. When a lot of people read this, they assume that Paul is talking about all 12 tribes. But he said, my kinsmen according to the flesh. Now, y'all know that verse they like to run to when they say that Joseph is the father, the biological father. When they say that what is it? The son of David according to the flesh, of the seed of David according to the flesh. And the question is, in what other way biblically could you be deemed somebody's seed other than according to the flesh? What is Paul talking about right here when he says, my brethren, my kinsmen, according to the flesh? Like in what other way could you be deemed a kinsman other than according to the flesh?
So he what he's saying is he has to be talking about circumcision.
True. I mean, yeah, how else you gonna be kinsman or brother or whatever? You know what I mean? Besides according to the flesh, like we the same people. It's basically saying we the same people.
So
the flesh is the circumcision, I would say, like Josiah said.
I would agree.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, circumcision right here, because he's making a distinction according to the flesh, right? And you know what did they do? They had to cut the flesh. You know, circumcision, the southern kingdom right here, southern kingdom.
According to the flesh, right? So, but wait a minute. Ephesians. So y'all agree that that's talking about the circumcision, right? Because he said, my kinsmen according to the flesh. That would indicate that you have other kinsmen, but not of that particular category, the circumcision. If you could be a flesh and blood Israelite, yet not of the circumcision, according to the Bible, right? Watch this. He said, remember that ye being in time past Gentiles in the flesh. In time past Gentiles in the flesh, who are called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision in the flesh made by hand. So when he said, my kinsmen according to the flesh, y'all was right. He was talking about the circumcision. But he's telling whoever this is that you was in times past Gentiles in the flesh who are called uncircumcision.
Also, bro, that's letting us know that the circumcision, the Jews called their brethren Gentiles when they was uncircumcised in the flesh. They called them Gentiles. The circumcision called their brethren Gentiles, not nobody else.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it said they're called uncircumcision by that which is called circumcision. So yeah, that's a true statement.
So to them it was unclean. Wow.
Why you think Peter got up when the circumcision came?
Got caught, huh?
So is Paul telling, I'm gonna just be blatant with it. Is Paul telling white people that they're no longer Gentiles in the flesh?
No.
Because that's how Christianity interprets it.
And it's so sad because that's not true. And if it was true, it crossed them out because they don't believe they're Israelites. So where's the Africans?
If that's the case, if they say that, if they believe that, then how or why would they then generally teach us today in the church that we're Gentiles? If Gentiles was once uncircumcision that was called circumcision, like it's like it don't make no sense. You know what I mean? Like if they believe that's talk about dumb, you know what I mean? Then how then could they call us Gentiles in the Christian church?
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, don't we all get that pass because they get that pass? Right?
Yeah.
Like now it's just crazy. Now I mean that's just a whole circle jerk right there.
But then they'll read the passage where he says, they'll read this right here. All right. Keep this Ephesians in mind. I think it's Romans 9. Hold on. They'll read this right here. Romans 9 and 6. It says, not as though the word of Elohim have taken none effect, for they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. They'll read this and say that just because you're an Israelite, that don't mean you're really an Israelite, because an Israelite is in the heart, right? Because it says that he is not a Jew, which is outward, but which is inward, and circumcision is that of the heart. They'll interpret that as no matter who you are, if you circumcise in heart, then you are a Jew, right? Because circumcision is not of the flesh, but it's of the heart. However, Ephesians, he just told them that ye were once Gentiles in the flesh, meaning you are no longer Gentiles in the flesh. Is that making sense? In one case, it's saying that it doesn't matter what you are in the flesh. It's about your heart and your spirit. But Paul is telling them in Ephesians that you're no longer Gentiles in the flesh. So which one is it? In one instance, it don't matter what you are in the flesh. But in another instance, if you're reading Ephesians 2 from a Christian perspective, Paul is telling them, look, you're no longer Gentiles in the flesh, because they're not looking at it from how we're seeing it, from the standpoint of the circumcision. We know what that means. But when have you ever read or heard a Christian deal with this from the standpoint of the circumcision? They're reading this to say that Gentiles are grafted in, right? And it don't matter about the circumcision of the flesh. But Paul's telling them right here that you are no longer Gentiles in the flesh. So apparently it matters what you are in a flesh and blood sense, or in a bloodline sense. Because that's the confusion, what is Paul really saying? And if he's saying that, then where do we go in the prophets and establish that? What y'all think?
Well, when I look at it, they are not Israel, which are of Israel. Is it's within the nation. It's like you got the whole nation, then you have the remnant that walk in the covenant, that's counted as the seed of the promise. So that's how I view that. It's a distinction within a nation.
I think when you compare Rome, like for instance, when you compare this passage here, this is Ephesians 2 and 11. When you compare this passage with what he's saying in Romans 9 and 6, he's virtually speaking to the same demographic, or those who will be in the same category, right? If he's saying they are not all Israel, which are of Israel. What that's saying is that if you're not of the circumcision, then you're not considered among the brethren in terms of the covenant.
That's basically what I was just saying. Like, it's the Gentiles in the flesh who are called when you uncircumcised, it's not walking by the covenant. You know what I mean? It's not walking in the covenant promises that was promised to Abraham. You're uncircumcised. So, like, that's Israel. Israel within Israel is that faithful people, the remnant, the people that walk in the covenant and follow and keep the law.
Like he said, Judah is faithful among the saints, right? So when he's saying they, like for instance, when he's saying here, right, ye being in time past Gentiles, right, who are called uncircumcision. These are talking about uncircumcised Israelites. This would be these people right here are the same people that Paul is talking about right here in Romans 9 and 6. They are not all Israel, which are of Israel. Why? Because they are uncircumcised. They're among the nations, right? Then he goes further, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. So you're dealing with a category of Israelites, which are bloodline Israelites, yet they are not of Israel because of their condition. Then you have those who are the seed of Abraham, who he's saying right here, neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children. So just because you're one of Abraham's sons and you come from one of those lineages, you're not children. And if you're not of the covenant or partaking of the covenant as a bloodline Israelite, you are not Israel according to this. So these are the same people, the same category of people.
And it started off by calling them Gentiles, I mean, from the uncircumcision and so that establishes that if you was uncircumcised, you was goy, you know. So basically, it's covered all bases within this one thing. It literally covered all bases. You're dealing with the covenant, and dealing with the nation, and dealing with what they was even dealing with what they was considered as when they was uncircumcised.
So all that basically brings about one question. When we look at salvation to the Gentiles, could those Gentiles possibly be Israelites scattered among the nations, or is Paul really reaching out to other nations of people, other bloodlines of people? And if by doing that, is he going against the prophets? Where would y'all go to establish salvation in the end times according to the prophets?
I will look at Daniel 7 when they talk about the four beasts, and he talks about the 10 toes and what's going to happen at the end. When that rock come down, it destroys all the nations, right?
Yeah.
So is Paul teaching that the nations can be saved? Then Daniel, he's going against Daniel.
You say Daniel 7?
Yeah, I think it's in Daniel 7.
Let's start somewhere. Let's in the chat, y'all let us know a passage in the prophecies, in the prophets, on the law and the prophets that speaks of salvation coming to other people that are non-Israelites. Now we know that Israelites are scattered among the nations. For some reason, though, it's hard to pin that down with some Christians, some apologists, that Israelites scattered among the nations equates to them being Gentiles. If you are among them, then according to the Bible, you are them. Right? The Most High gave Israel land and inheritance, and he told them that if they obeyed and kept his covenant, that they would remain in the land. So we know that Israelites are scattered because the Most High scattered them from among he scattered them out of the land and among the nations. So it's hard to pin that point down with some people, but where'd you want to start at?
Okay, Daniel 1. Well, I'm just going to, I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with the book of Daniel 7:1. He tells the prophecy of the four beasts, which is Babylon, which had them in slavery, Persia Medes was next, had them in slavery, Greece, and then the fourth beast, Rome. But he gets to Daniel 7:20. It's very interesting. It says, and Daniel 7:20 says, and the 10 horns that were in his head of the other which came up, before whom three fell. Three fell. This is out of the 10 horns, right? Even of the horn that had eyes, a mouth that speak very great things, whose look was more stout than his fellows. And behold, and the same horn made war with the saints and prevailed against them. Now, that last horn that made war with the saints and prevailed against them, we can see that happen in the transatlantic slave trade world. Until the ancients of days came, and judgment was given to the saints of the Most High, and the time came that the saints possessed the kingdom. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon the earth. That's Rome, which shall be diverse from all the kingdoms. Why is diverse? We know what happened to Rome. It split up, and I think it fell in 476 AD, but it also split up into 10 kingdoms with 10 toes, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall thread it down and break it into pieces. That's what it's talking about right here. And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall rise. Another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. It goes on, verse 25, and he shall speak great words against the Most High, and shall wear out the saints of the Most High. That happened. Think to change times and laws. We know that happened. That's why it's hard for us to find a Shabbat day or the feast day, because, the beast changed the times and laws. They shall begin, they shall be given into his hand until a time and divided of the time, which is going on now. But the judgment shall sit. They shall take away his dominion to consume and to destroy it until the end. And the kingdom and dominion and the greatness of the kingdom under the whole heaven shall be given to the people of the saints of the Most High, whose kingdom is everlasting kingdom, and all dominions shall serve and obey him. Here is the end of the matter. As for me, Daniel, my conscience much trouble me, and my conscience changed in me. But I kept the matter in my heart. You got one book where he said he sealed up the book, but his conscience and all that is troubling him. Daniel, can you imagine seeing this all the way in the future? So my point is, we see when you get to verse 25, 26, 27, this is where the Most High is going to destroy all the kingdoms that had Israel in slavery. That's what it says. So you got Persian Medes, you got Babylon, Persian Medes, you got Greek, third beast, then Rome is the fourth beast. Then Rome breaks into pieces. We know that happened. And then you got Arab slave trade, fifth beast, Spain and Portugal, sixth beast, Great Britain, seventh beast, eighth beast America, and Revelation 17, verses 9 to 11 let us know that the seventh came from the eighth. We know good and well America came from Great Britain. So all these different kingdoms ruled and enslaved his people. And he said, according to what we read here, that he's going to destroy them. I mean, I didn't write this. That's what he said. So either the Bible's a lie or God changed his mind, or I don't know. Maybe Paul seen God change his mind, according to them.
What y'all think about this comment right here? He say he brings up Esau in that context because he's talking about Edomite Jews that weren't Israel, that they treated more like Israel than the scattered abroad, and why he brings up Hosea and Isaiah, talking about Romans 9 and 6. He's saying that he talked about Edomites that
Yeah, he's saying that he's talking about the leader, them guys, them Roman guys that came and took over, right? And them Greeks that the Maccabees and them was mangling. That's who he's talking about. That was existing at that time, right? That Paul was.
Who is he talking about? Paul?
This is what he talk about Romans 9 and 6. So if he's saying he's just talking about Edomite Jews,
No.
he obviously must be referring to the ones that was existing at that time. So we talk about some Romans, some Greeks. Know what I mean? That was all in that mixture of timeline. Know what I mean? So you saying that these guys, you saying that Paul was writing letters to these guys? He was writing letters to Pilate?
No.
Okay.
That
All
right
right.
there is so wrong.
Hold up. He's saying this right here. Let me go back.
Yeah, Romans 9 and 6, right?
Yeah.
It says,
When it says, for they are not all Israel,
which are
which
Israel.
are of Israel. Now,
oh man,
I don't know. This would be my question. If he's referring to actual Edomites, then why would he say which are of Israel?
He's talking about the circumcision, uncircumcision. That's easy.
For they are not all Israel. Like that would be clear that they aren't Israel if he's talking about Edomites. But why would he say which are of Israel? Why would he need to make that understood?
Because he might try.
Can you go to
He might try to say that means that of Israel is dealing with the people living in the land, but you got to take that out of context in order to try to get that off. See, he just said it. I knew it. That's the spirit already on him.
What you were saying, Josiah?
read Galatians 3 and 18. We're dealing with Romans 9 and 6.
Yeah.
Well, first before you read that, read 7 in Romans real quick, and then go to this.
Romans 7 and what?
No, Romans 9 and 7. Go back to 9 and 6.
Yeah,
Read
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
That's why I read this after that, because it says neither because they are the seed of Abraham are they all children, for in Isaac shall thy seed be called.
Promise, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so go to Galatians 3 and 18. Romans 9 and 6. The key words in that is not as though the word of God has taken none effect. So we're dealing with the word of faith. So Galatians 3:18 says, "For if the inheritance be of the law, it is no more a promise, but God gave it to Abraham by promise," right? So what law is this talking about?
Talking about the sacrifice.
Right. So we're talking about the temple and the altar, right?
Yep.
Okay, so let's go to Romans 3:3. It says, "For what if some do not believe? Shall their unbelief make the faith of God without effect?" What did it say in Romans 9:6? Not as though the word of God be of none effect.
Yeah. Yep.
Who is
Right.
that didn't believe? Who didn't believe? The circumcision, the Jews that was going after the flesh, which is the temple.
Yep.
Let's go to let's prove what I'm talking about. Let's go to
Say it right in verse 1. What advantage then have the Yehudi or prophet is there of the circumcision?
1 Corinthians 10:18.
I got a precept to prove that too. 1 Corinthians
10:18.
18.
It says, "Behold, Israel after the flesh." Now it's going to explain Israel after the flesh. It says, Are not they which eat of the sacrifice partaker of the altar?"
Yep.
So there go your flesh right there. And to prove that, that's Jeremiah. Everything's coming from the law and the prophets. That's Jeremiah 7:21. Because when the priest burnt the offering, he actually ate the flesh. That's how the scribes and the Pharisees got rich in the New Testament.
And you can't say that Gentiles was the ones that was also partakers of the altar, because even according to terms of salvation that they believe that would now the Gentiles can't partake with us because they got to serve.
Yep. It says, "Thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, put your burnt offerings unto your sacrifice and eat flesh." So there go your Israel after the flesh. So Israel after the flesh didn't take the word of God, which was the Messiah, the actual sacrifice, which was prophesied to come. That was the faith. So they didn't believe in the law and the prophets. Their righteousness was the deeds of the law. That's why it says in Romans 3:20, "Therefore by the deeds of the law shall no flesh be justified in the sight, but by the law is the knowledge of sin."
Yeah. And that's why when they say the Israelites rejected Christ, right? What Paul, and just to back up what Josiah is saying, the Israelites who rejected Christ was talking about those who was in Jerusalem. All right. This Acts 13:26. "Men and brethren, children of the stock of Abraham, whosoever among you feareth Elohim, to you is the word of this salvation sent. For they that dwell at Jerusalem and their rulers, because they knew him not, nor yet the voices of the prophets, which were read every Sabbath day, they have fulfilled them in condemning him." So when they say the Israelites rejected Christ, so salvation turned to the Gentiles, the Israelites who rejected Christ was talking about those who was in Jerusalem. Nobody outside of Jerusalem had heard the gospel yet. It was when Paul went out that the message started to spread.
And it's also, oh, go ahead, bro.
No, I was just saying that was his ministry.
Yeah. And it's also interesting that it say, because they knew him not, nor yet the voices of the prophets, which are read every Shabbat day. So, and what I'm getting from that is that they wasn't paying attention. He's saying like we was reading them every Shabbat, but they ain't even heard the prophets. You know what I mean? So they fulfilled the prophecies by condemning them because they ain't know. But that's what it seemed like to me.
Yeah, I mean, the prophets, right? which are read every Shabbat day, they have fulfilled them. So when people go to that scripture where he talks about it was not made known in times past that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs, right? What is that talking about? Because the prophets were speaking, but the Most High had hardened the people's hearts. He hardened all of the hearts of the people. As everything the prophets prophesied, the people hardened their heart against him. So it wasn't made known. It wasn't made known in time past. You have to say, in what generation was it not made known? If they can go to scriptures like Genesis to try to say that that's talking about all nations, right? If they can go to Isaiah 49:6 and say that that's talking about all nations and Gentiles, then at what point was it not made known that Gentiles should be saved and should be fellow heirs? That's talking about how the Most High closed up the understanding in the hearts of the people and hardened their hearts as the prophet spoke, so it wasn't made known to them. Just like in Christ's time, a lot of things wasn't made known to them. It wasn't that it wasn't being presented. It wasn't that it wasn't in front of them. It just wasn't made known to them. It wasn't until he opened up and said, when it said that he went into the law, the Psalms, and the prophets,
and open up their understanding,
right?
So they can understand the scriptures.
It was in front of them the whole time,
right?
Just like the words of the prophets, our people was being made known. They was hearing these words, but it wasn't being made known to them. So what was Paul talking about? They'll run to that scripture and say, see, this talking about grafting in non-Israelites.
Nah.
Well, then that means that the Most High has now brought something about that he hadn't revealed to the prophets. Right?
Right.
If you're saying Paul is saying that that's talking about non-Israelite people, then that means that Paul is bringing forth something that the Most High is doing that he didn't reveal to the prophets. When he said that he does nothing except he reveals it to his prophets.
Right, that's true. I mean, and that's another. I mean, it's clear what it say right there, because that's ultimately how they end up. He's talking about the ones, our people. That's ultimately how they ended up condemning the Messiah, because it wasn't, you know what I mean, like it was right in front of their face, but as per usual, they picked the banana. But it was clear to me. I mean, and there is no prophecy in the Old Testament from the prophets that talk about Gentiles receiving salvation, unless you go to Isaiah 60 and then you deal with after the whole restoration of Israel, after our salvation, and then they gonna come and cleave to our light and all that. That's what that's dealing with. But other than that, ain't no salvation for ethnic Gentiles.
Well, how about this? Ain't no salvation for Romans and Greeks.
And that's when you keep it as that, they can't even use Isaiah 60 to try to twist that, because that's what it's really about. Like when you really just drill it down to that, they can't even run back there. So ain't no salvation for the Romans and Greeks.
So we see in Daniel chapter 2, verses 30 to 33, he talks about the statue, right? When anybody know this prophecy, you mean to tell me Paul know this prophecy, but he gonna go and say Greeks? Romans? Come on, man.
Wow. And that's but see that goes with not making that connection, right? That goes with not making that connection. I had something else. Matter of fact, I do got something for y'all, man. Y'all got any more thoughts? I got something for y'all. Sure do. I I had a couple of videos, and I have one now of I think you may have seen it, Kadar. The video, it was the two white guys. Well, it was actually 3 white guys. 2 of them was debating against this one guy over who the Gentiles were in the New Testament. You know what I'm talking about?
The what they call themselves?
Preterists.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
Anytime you see Gentiles, white people taking a position of everything pertaining to Israel, they always coming from that angle of everything being fulfilled. But this is a video right here, Israel scattering and becoming Gentiles. This is actually a Gentile who is taking that position. We can look at some of this and break this down. Y'all let me know where to stop it and everything. Give me your thoughts. Y'all let me know some thoughts in the chat. Let's check it out.
I'm asking you something. Did you tag Dwayne in this video?
No, I didn't. But
well, he probably watching anyway. I hope he go try to debate these Gentiles then.
Nah, you won't see that. That's one thing you won't see is a Negro debating Gentiles over Gentiles being saved, and the Gentiles taking the position of it really being about Israel. You won't see that. Fair use.
Jew and Gentile, one child, one in Messiah, one in
Say part 2, Gentiles, what your pastor never told you about Israel's bad news scattering to become Gentile. Something we've been establishing, for ever since we came to this understanding.
Hey, Brother E, simply, if I kick you out of your homeland and I took everything from you and you don't be my people no more, I took the covenant from me, what are you?
Not a people. Gentiles.
Thank you.
Wherever I find myself, wanderers among the nations.
You are the nations if you're among them, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it's simple.
Like we're Americans, right? You have a lot of brothers and sisters who identify as African American or American. They'll say, man, I ain't no African. Right?
Didn't he kick the Canaanites out too?
Yeah.
We were no better.
Yeah. No better than them, huh?
Yep. Gentiles.
Alrighty, we are back. All prophecy fulfilled. We are on lesson number 2 of the Gentiles, Christianity's best kept secret, and what your pastor never, ever told you. Okay, look, I've got a boatload of information here, so let me just jump right into it. Quick review, 30-second review. What did we learn last lesson? Well, basically, we covered 3 things. Number 1, the actual word goy, goyim, ethnos, that is translated as Gentile. That is simply a multitude of individuals from the same category, from the same group. It's a collective term. So contrary to the very popular and assumptive notion that the Bible identifies people as an individual Gentile. Well, no, not really. Actually, the Bible identifies a collective group of individuals that comprise the whole, or the nation, or the nations collectively. So goy, goyim, ethnos, it really just means a people group. It means a tribe or tribes. It means a nation or nations. That's what it means. Number 2, we looked at the promise to Abraham and the promises to his seed and to all the nations that would be blessed. And I basically said one of 2 things. I said, number 1, the seed of Abraham. In the Old Testament, right off the bat, it is always and it is only Israel. Israel was Abraham's seed. Time and time again, we see that. And I know what you think the seed is in the New Testament, but hold off on that because we're going to get to that. But the point is, throughout the Old Testament, the prophets refer to Israel, Abraham's descendants, as his seed. That's it. But number two, I said, look, as far as the nations, the goyim that would be blessed.
I like how he's talking about the promise to Abraham and said the blessing. I want to tackle that just real quick. Psalms 32, 1 and 2. That bless, this is what this bless is talking about. It says, blessed is he whose transgression is forgiven, whose sins is covered. Blessed is the man unto whom the Lord imputed not sin, and in whose spirit there is no guile. Now let me ask y'all a question. Who did the Messiah come to turn away from sin?
Say he come to turn ungodliness from Jacob.
Jacob. Thank you. So when you say that blessings to Abraham, that's talking about turning Israel from their sins.
That's the blessing of you know, all nations being blessed through your seed, right? And in thy seed shall all nations of the earth be blessed. That's what that's talking about. What's the blessing, right?
In thy seed.
The forgiveness of sins, bro. That's the blessing. That's why it says the scriptures foreseeing that God would justify the heathens through faith.
Mm-hmm.
See that?
Yeah.
It don't say by thy seed shall all nations, but it say in thy seed shall all nations be blessed.
The gospel was told to Abraham, literally.
Exactly. Well, that's why Mark say the beginning of the gospel of Mashiach, which is in the prophets. You know, our prophecy. That's where you find the gospel, is in the prophets.
Let's reserve judgment on that until we get more information from the story, because I know what you think the nations are when we get to the New Testament. And I'm saying, hold off on that. Let's let the story develop. Number three, and I think probably the most important thing I wanted you to see was Ephraim, Genesis 48. Remember Ephraim, the house of Israel. They were prophesied. They were promised to become a multitude of Gentiles, well, nations, but yes, Gentiles, Goyim, Ephraim, and that is so important. I said, you know what, you need to table that, put that right here, because we're going to be coming back to that. So keep in mind, everything we do early in these lessons, it's going to come full circle. So let's start from the beginning of Israel's story at Sinai.
This white guy, what he's doing, it's just like AI. They are proving that the things that we study is true. And if you're not honest, you'll see that this white guy has no bias. But we don't agree with this guy because he's a preterist. And that don't even sound right.
Right.
Yeah, that sounds crazy.
Yeah. Sound like they got a special place in prison for people like that.
Sound like FBI open up.
I mean, to debate them is really easy because they got to prove that Messiah came back the second time. They can't prove that.
Yeah, a preterist, right? I mean, they're really looking at prophecy as something that's been fulfilled, but they're putting it in perspective with Israel.
You know, Obadiah on the chat, he right. You feel me? A lot of them is listening to us, and that you see that these new schools of thought haven't even started to rise up until Israel start waking up.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, now all of a sudden you got these different dudes coming because everybody is sitting back gleaning how we breaking down the scriptures line upon line, precept upon precept. And they ain't saying nothing, ain't nobody stepping forward, but they taking it and running with it and creating their own schools of thought off of it.
Man, you know, it's funny you mention that because I said a while back I didn't hear. It wasn't until I learned that the Negroes are the Israelites and that Mashiach was a black man that I started to hear about all this Egyptology and all these other schools of thought that I never heard of before that point. And it seemed like they're all set up to rival what we understand or the knowledge that we're coming into. Otherwise, they have no other relevance.
It's all when it really, the real truth of it all is we just talking about it on a flesh level, but the real truth is it's spiritual warfare, because it is no such thing as coincidence. Like you said, like, and that is true. Like when the Israelites started, the awakening started to move to prominence, all of the conscious movement, Kemetic thought, all of this just came out before. That's not to say that it never existed. It just say it started to try to quote unquote take prominence alongside the awakening. And when you look at the timing of how everything go down, even when it comes to these guys with their new schools of thought, how you don't see that coming until we done already established the clear doctrine, which the Bible already established. You notice, like, man, this is spiritual warfare. This is the enemy.
Yeah.
Notice how all that we woke and all that came after the 400-year prophecy.
Right, the chosen ones. We woke starseed crystalline body garbage that's going around YouTube and TikTok.
You heard what I'm saying, son Judah? Notice how that we didn't start hearing that until after the 400 years was announced.
Yep.
Yeah, because they try to usurp. That's the enemy. That's the spiritual. That's the enemy trying to preempt what the actual what you know, the enemy. He always try to preempt the Most High. So they try to hijack the narrative. They can't stop the divine timing. So they try to hijack the narrative beforehand. Not to get off subject, but that's why you see all of this commotion about 3-eye Atlas and some mothership coming to Earth and by November, and it's supposed to be hostile. That's why you think they trying to do that. They hijacking the narrative. They always do the same thing. They preempt the Most High, thinking that they going and try to fool as much people as possible. And they did that when that 400-year 14, when that bill dropped and it was recognized amongst all the nations, because that's not even something that's just in the Bible. Like that, literally, there's a bill, HR 1242, and those numbers 1242 is no coincidence.
Right.
1242, Exodus 1242. Now, I mean, like this is like there is no such thing as coincidence. I mean, this is all like they try to hijack that narrative and fool people.
Yeah. And I didn't even think about that.
I ain't thinking about that either.
Like everything, it's like everything.
Wow.
The year
like
commemoration bill.
Yeah.
Fine. What do Exodus 12:42 say? I know what Exodus 12:40 says.
They was dwelled in Egypt and for 430 years. Egypt and Canaan for 430
Well,
years.
that's Exodus 12 and 40.
Well, 12 and 40.
Exodus 12 and 40 says they was in Egypt 430 years.
It say it is a night to be much observed unto the Most High for bringing them out.
Yeah. So it's the Exodus reference.
Yep.
In the 400-year commemoration reference. You feel me? It's like it ain't no such thing as coincidence. It was a worldwide recognized, and they tried to hijack it with these new woke and awaken movements.
Yeah. Let's get some more of this. Some real good thoughts, man. Those types of thoughts bring up a lot of different other thoughts, man. You know, is crazy.
Now, look, I could start with Sinai. I could start with Abraham. I could start with Adam. But for our purposes in this lesson, we're going to begin Israel's covenant at Sinai when they entered into covenant. Remember that? They were offered the covenant and they said, all these things we will do. It was like a collective coming into covenant. And that's where their covenant creation really began right there. We're going to start right there. So here's a 30,000-foot overview of the biblical story, and I'm going to build a proper contextual foundation or a background or a perspective when it comes to the Goyim, when it comes to the Gentiles. Okay, so from Israel's beginnings at Sinai, listen to this. Their end as a people under that first covenant and under that law of Moses was in view. Did you get that?
Did y'all hear what he said? Y'all hear what he said?
Yeah, I heard him.
A different law of Moses.
Huh?
Mm-hmm.
He's saying that from the time they established the covenant with the Most High, the end was already established. It was already in view.
When it comes to the Gentiles. Okay, so from Israel's beginnings at Sinai, listen to this. Their end as a people under that first covenant and under that law of Moses was in view. Did you get that? From their very beginning, from their first days.
Yeah, that was a good statement. Because when Israel began, he also declared their end too.
Yeah. He declared their end, and then he declared the restoration after the end. You know, Ezekiel 7 talks about the end being the siege in Jerusalem.
Yep.
But then you got the daughter of Babylon, the last days. That end was established and determined. That's why when they go to that Deuteronomy, what scripture is that? Let me glance at it real quick. I think it's Deuteronomy 32.
21.
Yeah, 32 and 21. No. Yeah, when they read that, they have moved me to jealousy with that which is not God. Yeah. They have provoked me to anger with their vanities, and I will move them to jealousy with those which are not a people. I will provoke them to anger with a foolish nation. See, this was prophetic, right? But this is where Christians run to say that the Most High was going to provoke the nation of Israel to jealousy with non-Israelite nations.
Right.
And then they also say that Ephraim shall no more vex Judah, or Judah shall no more vex Ephraim, whichever way I go.
Yeah.
And also on son Judah, it said that in Isaiah 7 and 8, it says that Ephraim shall be broken, that it should not be a people. So it said in Deuteronomy 32:21, I'm provoke you to judge with those that are not a people.
Right. And then you got Hosea.
Yep. You are not my people.
Not my people. Call his name Lo Ami.
Yep. And then you got Peter confirming it. Those which are not a people are now become the people.
Man, that's multiple witnesses.
It's too many witnesses. So Dwayne talking about that's not a prophecy. Boy, you need to go back and read, boy.
Even if he wilding.
Yeah.
He was tripping. I seen that.
You seen that?
Yeah.
Doe'S say he deleted the video, so we'll never know.
Wait, which one?
Today's
video?
I was the one with Josiah was debating him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one you talking about?
Yeah. But he said the one that he deleted, which one you deleted, E? Today video?
Yeah, he deleted that one.
Oh.
Check this out.
Last days were all but certain. They were already determined. According to the story, Yahweh through Moses actually told them up front the bad news, if you will. After farting around for like 40 years, and they were about to enter the promised land, speaking to Israel, what did Yahweh say? Well, here's some clips, if you will, from Deuteronomy 32. I'm just going to give them to you rapid fire. Deuteronomy 32. I will hide my face from them. Speaking of Israel, speaking of his people, I will see what their end will be. For they are a perverse generation, children in whom is no faith. I will heap disasters on them. For they are a nation, goy, there's your nation, void of counsel, nor is there any understanding to them. Oh,
I would like to see this dude break down Deuteronomy 28:15 through 68.
When they say they are a nation void of counsel, what does that mean? Remember what he said in Deuteronomy, I think it's Deuteronomy 4, when he said the nations shall see and say, what great nation has the Most High close to them like this nation, you know, or what nation is so wise as this nation?
Right.
If we in covenant, but if we are a nation void of counsel, what does that make us? Because the other nations are void of counsel as well. They're heathen nations.
Right, because they don't have no law, they don't got no covenant.
But we make ourselves one with them. The Most High scatter us among them. You know, but we can't make that connection.
And how you gonna get counsel without the law? How you gonna get counsel without the literal counsel?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that they were wise, that they understood this, that they would consider their latter end. There's their end right there. Way in the beginning, hey, there's your end, Israel, right there. I could go on and on. So Deuteronomy 32, 28 through 32 really, is all about Israel's end. And he's laying it down like only 40 years really after becoming the people of God. That's interesting. And you know what? It's astonishing, really, if you think about it. You know, we don't teach this stuff in Sunday school, do we? And we don't really cover it like in our church groups, do we? No, why? Well, because it's not all, puppies and rainbows. It's not all good news about us. And we don't know really what the heck it means, and why it's important. And yet, this right here, Deuteronomy, this is the foundation to the rest of the story. Everything that goes after it or beyond it is set up right here. And this right here, Deuteronomy 32, is actually setting up exactly who, or I think more precisely, exactly which Gentiles later on are going to be in focus in the story.
Y'all hear what he said?
Yep.
Yeah, but he said which Gentile?
He on point too.
He's saying that that Deuteronomy, right? Like this, that's why Peter said we have a more sure word of prophecy, where we do well to take heed as of a light that shines in a dark place. So the words of the prophets, that's our light.
Yep. That's why it says, if they speak, it says to the law and to the testimony. If they speak not according to this word, there is no
light.
what? Thank you.
No light.
And the law and the prophets prophesying to what? John. Come on, man.
I'm gonna run that back because it's, he's letting you know that Deuteronomy 32 not only sets up the end from the beginning, right? It's also setting you up for which Gentiles in the end time would be restored and delivered. Which Gentile? That's why y'all hear us say that. Which Gentiles you talking about? Oh, it's just talking about the Gentiles. Which ones?
Right, because who are these Gentiles that are going to chase 1,000? Because that's their latter end. Their latter end is one shall chase 1,000.
Say which Gentiles?
Yep.
Deuteronomy 32 is actually setting up exactly who, or I think more precisely, exactly which Gentiles later on are going to be in focus in the story. From the beginning, Israel had a predetermined end, and the ending wasn't pretty. It was going to end in judgment. Moses basically laid out Israel's history. Okay, so here's the predicted trajectory, as I like to call it, of Israel's story. You have a covenant creation at Sinai, God's people Israel. You have the giving of the law into the promised land under the blessings and or the curses of the law. And then you know what you have? Nothing but trouble. That's a capital T that rhymes with P, and that stands for not pool. I don't know. Promised land? Couldn't think of it. Okay, nothing but trouble. You have warfare, you have disobedience, right? In fact, Israel's kingdom would be split in two. And this is exactly what I think I think most Christians actually are aware of this, but they just don't seem to get the significance of it in regard to the whole story, the splitting of the kingdom. But that's really the major part of the story. The kingdom was split. You got the northern tribes, you got the 10 northern tribes, you got the southern kingdom, Benjamin and Judah. You got, they were also called, they were basically called Judah, or the house of Judah. And the northern kingdom was called the house of Israel. Okay? And sometimes they were referred to as what? Ephraim. Yes, Ephraim. Remember last lesson, Ephraim. Genesis 48. And Ephraim was prophesied to become what? The nations, the Goyim. They were going to become, Gentile. Oh man, that just sounds so weird, doesn't it? So back to the 30,000-foot view. You have a lot of turmoil. You have wars within. You have wars without. Disobedience, experiencing the curses of the covenant. But what would be the result of that? What would happen to Israel? Well, as promised, they would be continually scattered. They would be scattered throughout and among the nations, the Goyim, the Gentiles. And there's just a boatload of verses that talk about Israel scattered. I did in my Last Days Biblically Defined series, I did like 3 or 4 lessons on Israel scattering and gathering. This ain't nothing new. So if you want a little more in-depth discussion on that, go look at those. But here's an example. Deuteronomy 28, 64 through 65. You, talking to Israel here, God's covenant people, Deuteronomy 28, you shall be plucked from off the land which you go to possess. Then the Lord will scatter you among all the peoples from one end of the land to the other. And there you shall serve other gods, which neither you nor your fathers have known, wood and stone. And among those nations you shall find no rest, Israel. Deuteronomy 4, 23 and following. Take heed to yourselves, lest you forget the covenant of your Lord your God, which he made with you, and make for yourselves a carved image. And the Lord will scatter you among the peoples, and you will be left few in number among the nations, where the Lord will drive you. And there you will serve gods, the work of men's hands, wood and stone, which neither see nor hear, nor eat, nor smell. Now,
Y'all got any thoughts?
Yeah, that just go back to what I said, that Israel became Gentiles by being scattered among the nation and serving their God. That's why when I was talking to Dwayne, I started with the context of 1 Corinthians 10, letting them know that was talking to Israel, the brothers that was under the clouds and passed through the sea and baptized unto Moses. And then I went to chapter 12 when it says that concerning spiritual gift, you brethren, that you were Gentiles carried away into these dumb idols. So that's what he just explaining.
Ain't that something?
Yep.
Maybe they believe it when now they hear from Esau.
Yep. That's why I did this. It's like, would you debate this guy? It's just like with us being Israel, right? Would you debate all of the scholars, the Jewish scholars, the white archaeologists that prove and have evidence that we are the people? Would you debate them?
No, because the whole scheme, it's just crazy when the more we talk about it. Obviously not, because it's all spirit driven and the whole scheme is against the awakening. So why would they debate these people? Right? It's really all about counteracting whatever true Israel do in the spirit. Like, this is what the entities is doing. That's why we see all this. So now they, even amongst our people that disagree, why would they debate people like this? Spiritually, it's really about antagonizing the awakening.
Yeah. That's what it's all about.
Now, did you notice the references to idolatry, right? Serving other gods. Prophet after prophet after prophet continue to drive the same message home. Israel would be scattered into the nations, to the Goyim. They would be assimilated into the Goyim, mixing, mingling, marrying, adopting the pagan practices of the very cultures in which they came to reside in. Now, pay attention, because there's going to be a quiz at the end of the series. No, because these things are going to come full circle. So that's why we're covering this, okay? There is a method to our madness. And man, some people just don't like to be thorough. They don't like to cover this stuff. They just want to jump into the New Testament and say, hey, there's me. That's me. I'm a Gentile. No, get your butt back here into Deuteronomy, into the story, and I'll show you who the Gentiles are. Okay, sorry.
They'll get mad at us.
Yo, he's funny.
They'll get mad at us for doing that, wouldn't they? He said, get your butt back in here.
Yo, get your ass back over here, boy.
I know.
I mean, you gotta look at that, because this is what I'm saying. A preterist, you don't have to worry about a preterist including themselves in salvation. That's the whole point. They're saying that all the Bible has been fulfilled, right? Everything's been fulfilled according to them. So that's the whole point. They're going against the Christian understanding.
So they whole thing stand, and if that's what they say, that's crazy though. But so they whole thing stand on, basically, it has to by default.
Right.
Stands on current Israel, right?
Right.
Current state of Israel in 1948 state of Israel being quote unquote restored.
Yeah.
Hold on, that's hold on. They think they the people too.
They have to. If they think everything is fulfilled, they have to.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Because you're right.
Oh, their heart's gonna be broken.
Yeah.
But not all of them think that or believe that.
If everything is fulfilled, Israel got to be restored, right?
They believe that the current Jewish state is the fulfillment, but not all of them include themselves in that.
Yes.
Hold on, wait a minute. So, do these predators, do they believe in the New Testament?
They believe it's all been fulfilled.
How, when the Father's kingdom came down too? What is that at? We still see dying and stuff like that.
That's where we were saying that's where you can get them. But in terms of Paul's epistles and letters, they do a good job of putting them in right perspective.
It's the enemy, it's the enemy doing enemy stuff.
Right, exactly.
Being caught in their own craftiness at the same time, because like how you using this dude, like he has not broken down this wrong.
No.
At this point, yeah, you feel me? He has been on point. You feel me? So it's like trying to be crafty against the awakening is actually exposing to our people how wrong they are, and even the nations that they trying to save don't agree with them.
Right.
Just use them
Yep.
to establish that point. They don't know that we the true people. However, if they can just establish the point or the actual fact that all this applies to Israel, then that in itself is a witness against themselves.
Right.
We're not saying that they all about the truth or anything. We're just using what they're establishing because it's in alignment with what we know. So I think it's a work of the Most High, actually. I think the Most High is behind this, actually.
He's the master of irony. And this is one of them beautiful poetic irony moments where the nations are being, their own wickedness is being used against them, because rebellion against the awakening is wickedness. You know what I mean? So this is being used, their craftiness, they're being crafty. They think they breaking down the scripture, which he is. You know what I mean? But the way that it's being used now is a test, is one is serving as a witness to him himself, especially when the true awakening is forced to be known in the world, and two is using it as a witness against the stiff neck of our people that's actually trying to save people like this.
Exactly. So it's like this is one of them situations where we don't even have to do the dirty work. The work is already done. Now prove him wrong, right? Go against disinformation.
I think he would smash some. I think he would. I don't think I would see a debate against him from our regular dissenters. I don't think I would see that.
You know what? This proves that the Most High said he turned Esau and Ishmael away from him to not serve him. Because how you bring out this truth, the facts that you bringing out, and this just by simply reading and studying, like lining that stuff up, bringing it back to the covenant and stuff like that. For him to bring it back to the covenant and to say it's all about Israel, that's just a person that's just reading and studying and getting the context from what the author is saying.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? He's actually trying to understand the author himself. But for him to say it's fulfilled already, that's a spiritual thing.
Right. That's where like I said, I ain't in no way, form, or fashion saying that he with the truth or nothing like that, but when you look at preterism, it is a theological study within itself. And you have a lot of people who ascribe to that position of preterism, And so from that angle, just like look at it like this. You have a lot of Gentile archaeologists, right, that can go different parts of the world. They're funded, right, to go do these things, to go find things, find locations, and whatever they find, they report back to the institution that's funding them to do the work, most likely the Smithsonian. So they get a first-hand account on everything that we know. Whether they reveal it or not, that's something different. But they're actually on site in front of these things. They're actually in these places. They can see things. They can document things. And they can find records, ancient records, and they can conceal these things, right? But within them concealing these things on the mainstream, you have those within that brand of study or within that arena that will reveal things. You see what I'm saying? Reveal things that actually confirm that the Bible is true or that the evidence of certain things happen. And so what we saying is that use that to your advantage. I'm not saying credit them for being in the truth or anything like that. Just use to the advantage the fact that they're able to do things and confirm things that we don't have the means to confirm ourselves. Like average Negro can't just up and go to Egypt or go to the Holy Land or wherever and spend 10, 20 years excavating the site, finding stuff. This is what they do. So they know the Bible is true. They just conceal the facts and the evidence, and they twist it and give us their narratives through the textbooks and things like that. But then you have those within that same arena that actually confirm things that are true. Like they'll tell you we found giant skeletal remains. You'll have some white archaeologists that have proved that ancient Israelites were of Negroid descent, black descent. It's not a mainstream thing, but you have some people on that level that reveal these things. And so look at this like that. I shouldn't really have to explain this to y'all. You know, you should be able to you should have enough practical application to know to do that without being offended when you see stuff like this. But I'm doing it anyway because, you know, that's just my part in being compassionate on my people. You know, otherwise I would say something else. But that's what we're dealing with this. Just use this as a weapon. This is like a weapon, like you fighting against somebody that has a weapon, and you able to grab that weapon and use it against them, using their own weapon against them, basically.
More specifically, and I would say even more to the point, it's like you fighting an enemy that's bigger than you and has all the advantage. So you grabbing anything that you can use as a weapon, know what I mean, to get your point across, to get the mission done. And this is where you pick up different people speaking that have different schools of thoughts, but you can use their points to even teach lessons and prove the centers of our people and their doctrine wrong, and to get them back in the right understanding. You know, it's like it ain't even just using your enemy weapon against you. It's grabbing anything that's around that we can that's conducive to the point can get used as a tool. Know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. She say some of our people only believe the truth from the oppressor's mouth. Now think about this. If the truth, nobody in the chat can say that anything in this video so far is an error. Right? So if the truth is coming from this angle, what does that tell you about the extent the Most High is willing to go to get us to believe? Right? The Most High is willing to allow his tree. Said the truth will spring up from the earth in the last days. So this is information that we didn't have to, you know, it's certain things we don't have to do. Like, for instance, you have a group of archaeologists who prove through evidence going around the world and traveling around the world that the flood took place. The biblical flood actually happened. And this is the reason why you have all these petrified animals, petrified giant bodies and different things under the water and in different parts of the earth, because it is one event. Through their evidence, through their means, through their technology and everything, they're establishing that as a fact that this was an actual event that took place. And they show it all over the world. Here's the evidence. The same type of effects all over the different parts of the world. See what I'm saying? We don't have the means to do that. So even if, you know, you weren't coming from a biblical angle, just a scientific angle, you would have to acknowledge the evidence of something that's there. Catastrophic. What is this that took place that's so catastrophic that the evidence of it is in every nation, every country we go to, we see it. We see the evidence that it left behind in every country. In some places more, some places less. However, people will never know because this damn mountain is so big and massive that you walking up on the side of it, you can't tell what that is from the side of it. It got trees and grass and everything growing out of it. So you know what you do? You build your house on top of it. But if you had a drone or something, you can fly up and see it from the top, right? You don't even realize you done built your house on top of a damn eye socket of somebody who died there during that catastrophic event. That's what we talking about. With their advancements and everything, they're using these things to deceive us. But if we pay a close attention, it's really to our advantage. Y'all got any more thoughts?
I'm straight.
Now it sounds like I'm trying to save the white man now, right? Trying to save white people.
That's what they gonna do. They gonna clip the video.
Yeah, you trying to save white people. Yeah, go ahead, man. Y'all,
1 minute short.
Like when was the last time you spent $4,000 to go somewhere and was able to go where you wanted to go? See, even if you spend all that money to go, you have to go and stay within the bounds that they set. So you're not really seeing nothing. When you go to Egypt, you're not seeing what was there from antiquity. You know how many times Egypt been renovated and switched around and stuff moved around? So you're seeing a tourist attraction. You got brothers who will go to Egypt and come back and say, ain't no biblical evidence. But then you got these archaeologists that'll tell you where the tomb of Joseph was and all this kind of stuff. So which one is it?
All right. Because they don't got access because they don't got the networking. They just pop up there, feel some type of way because they in the quote unquote motherland. Then they come back trying to convince you that they can break down the metaneta and the hieroglyphs and shit and everything. And because they've been there when they really don't even got access to these areas that these scholars and archaeologists got access to. And I mean, there are some of our people that have went there and have access to it, but you know, most people, nah. I mean, they going there, coming back, like you said, oh, there ain't no biblical evidence and this and that. Yeah, because you ain't even got networking and the money or the access to even approach the evidence that's necessary to establish that. You on the outskirts, you feel me? They got you on the beach somewhere.
Right. How would you know anyway, one way or the other? You show up there, you could be standing right on top of the place where they left, but they telling you ain't no evidence. You don't know. You're not right from there. Like that ain't the hood. Egypt ain't right up the street. Where you can go and man, I'm finna go to Egypt and ride around and I know, nah.
I'm about to go to the Sphinx, bro.
Come on, bro. Chill out. You come back talking about what ain't there. You don't know where you at.
Yeah, only Sphinx they going to is to get some chicken.
Yeah.
Come full circle. So that's why we're covering this. Okay, there is a method to our madness. And man, some people just don't like to be thorough. They don't like to cover this up. They just want to jump into the New Testament and say, hey, there's me. That's me. I'm a Gentile. No, get your butt back here into Deuteronomy, into the story, and I'll show you who the Gentiles are. Okay, sorry. Got a little preachy there. Forgive me, my brother. Pay attention because there's some key words here that I really want you to remember. Ezekiel 6, 8 and 9. Again, just a couple examples. I will leave a remnant so that you may have some who escape the sword among the nations. When you are scattered throughout the countries, then those of you who escape will remember me among the nations where they are carried away captive or carried captive. Because I was crushed by their adulterous heart, which departed from me, by their eyes, which play the harlot after their idols. You see what's going on there. How about Zechariah 2? I have scattered you among the four winds of heaven, declares the Lord. I have scattered them with the whirlwind among all the nations that they have not known. Jeremiah 9. I will scatter them among the nations that neither they nor their fathers have known. I will scatter them like chaff driven by the desert wind. Psalm 44, 11. You have given us as sheep to be devoured. You have scattered us among the nations. How about Nehemiah chapter 1? The word that you commanded your servant Moses when you said, if you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations. How about Daniel chapter 9? To you, O Lord, belongs righteousness, but this day we are covered with shame. The men of Judah, the people of Jerusalem, and all Israel, near and far, in all the countries where you have driven us because of our unfaithfulness to you. There was Israel near, and there was Israel far. Okay, and I could go on and on and on. There's probably like 100 similar verses that I could share with you. But you see what's going on here. And you see the relationship really between idolatry, unfaithfulness, and Israel's scattering. Okay? And you notice what Israel's called, what they're referred to. Who's being scattered? The sheep. Israel is the sheep. Okay? They are being scattered throughout the nations so that all Israel was near and far. You had all Israel near and far, and that's really important. And so, again, you got to think from Israel's perspective, specifically the house of Judah, really, to be other than Israel, to be separated or apart from the covenant community was to be goyim. It was to be associated with the unclean, the other, the nations, the tribes, the goyim out there, to be part and parcel with them. And that's what the house of Israel became through their scattering. Not only not practicing law, but you know what? Worse, they actually adopted the pagan practices of the nations in which they found themselves. And we know, like the Assyrians, for example, they invaded, and the northern tribes basically assimilated, and they married into the Assyrian culture or cultures. So you know what? I think it's fair to say that Israel, they would be, and they were scattered, and they actually became, or they were assimilated into every tribe, every tongue, and every nation. Hey, that sounds like Revelation. You know what? We're going to get there. Okay, so all this scattering, assimilation, pagan practices.
So it sounds like he even understands that Revelations, when it talks about the nations, the kindreds, the tongues, right? He even understands that that's talking about Israel.
I'm sorry, man, but it's just so hard to just ignore. Like, how could you possibly believe it? Believe everything is fulfilled. Like, he's talking about Revelation. I'm like who? I don't want me to get off subject, but it's hard to ignore. Like, could there be it? Could there be this much stupidity in the world? Like, is it real? Like, this is crazy, bro. Like, Revelations.
But see, what would you expect, seeing that the Most High never gave them the true understanding anyway? Like, he's not. Once again, we're dealing with the Bible for what the Bible is establishing, right? And we understand who true Israel is according to the Bible. According to the Bible, he's establishing the same thing we're establishing. He's just not making the right connection with the people.
And you know what the irony, the irony of it all is that when that light come on us, and when them two witnesses hit, and when they're forced to realize who the true Israel is, the irony is that the reason why these people is now it all makes sense why their reactions are going to be their reactions that the Bible say.
Yep.
Now, I mean, now it's because it's like they really carry these beliefs. And it's like when you really look at it from the beginning of what we watched up until now, you would think if you didn't know his stance beforehand, you would think this dude was one step away from, like, you would think that the culmination of his video would be at the end telling you who the real Israel is.
Yeah.
You would think. Know what I mean? But that's just not the case. And then so when the real Israel get revealed to them, it now I get it. You feel me? The Bible.
That's what I'm
saying. Yeah.
They're establishing the truth without the whole truth being revealed to them fully. Like they don't know that.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Do
you really think they don't know?
Huh?
You really think they don't know?
They don't. No.
Man.
They don't. At least not all of them, because Wisdom of Solomon wouldn't be true then. That's when they gonna know.
Yeah, you're right. And it's so crazy. It's so crazy because it's just like, how could you not know? But you're right. You're right. Wisdom of Solomon wouldn't be like their reaction. Like when you first read the Wisdom of Solomon, reaction is like you think you get it, but then when you see stuff like this, it's like you really get it.
Yeah, I mean, because we say, man, they know, they understand. No, they don't. You know, maybe the elites do.
Right.
They don't. Yeah. What is their reaction to us saying that we the true Jews, we the true people? They reject it.
Yeah.
Right. You how many of them have you told to their face and seen a reaction when you said we the people? So they don't know. It hasn't been made known.
It ain't dawned upon them.
It's in their face, but it hasn't been made known.
It's the same, it's like the same cycle, the same way that Yahshua was in our face, and at that time that our people didn't know who he really was.
Wasn't made known.
It wasn't made known. Know what I mean? Like, and it's like there's nothing new under the sun. We see these same patterns, these cycles. It's so crazy, bro.
We got to quit twisting what Paul is saying when he said it was not in time past not made known that the Gentiles should be fellow heirs. He's not saying that it wasn't in their face. The prophets were speaking to them. Listen, Isaiah 49:6 was spoken through the prophet. But how do people interpret Isaiah 49:6 today? As talking about non-Israelite people when it said being a light to the Gentiles.
Right.
They interpret that as we have to teach non-Israelite people. Teach them what if they're not part of the covenant?
And when he gonna put the law in our inward parts, and we ain't gonna be no need for us to teach each other. And according to Psalms, the law, the commandments being the lamp and the law being the light, like, and the law only being given to Israel, and the law only being put in Israel in inward parts, it all makes sense. You know what I mean? Like from the beginning, it was only talking about Israel.
Yeah, when it say if they diligently learn the ways of my people, it didn't say that we was gonna teach them. It said if they diligently learn. What does it mean to diligently learn? That means you got to work hard and learn.
All right.
I ain't got to teach you nothing, but you better learn. That's what that means. Diligent. You really want to know? Okay, give up something. Seek it out.
You really want to know? Wait till we get that. Wait till we hit that 3.5 year boot camp in the wilderness. Then you gonna diligently learn, because we gonna come out something completely different.
Look. Y'all made us swear by the names of Baal, right? Y'all made us pay all this money to enter into y'all schools of theology, to be certified and all. So what y'all think y'all finna have to do? Just get on your knees and say, I love Jesus, praise the Lord.
Hey, diligently, you're gonna continue to learn every day, every week. You're gonna keep doing this.
And you're gonna run
non-stop.
Run that.
And you're gonna pay homage every year too.
Yep.
Will reign for you.
You're gonna run
your ass gonna be working. You're gonna be working.
See, just like we had to run that.
Yep.
Run that.
Cut off his reign. He ain't show up to the Passover. Cut off his reign.
Right. See, they think that's talking about all the nations gonna be happy. Nah, we're gonna be ruling. Nations ain't gonna be happy about that. Why you think the Most High put that stipulation on it? Listen, why did you think the Most High put the stipulation on his own people that if they served him, if they didn't serve him, what would happen? And if they served him, what would happen? He didn't give us that stipulation for the end time. He said he gonna circumcise our hearts, and he said he wasn't gonna scatter us no more or remove us from the land no more.
And when they talk about the unclean being outside of the gates with the dogs and the goats, know what I mean, at Revelations, know what I mean, that's further shows you how the Gentiles in the New Testament cannot be ethnic Gentiles, because those Gentiles are supposed to be partakers with us of the same covenant citizenship, fellow citizens with us inside. You know what I mean? So that's another key point. Like these people going to be serving, and we're going to have the power over all the nations, and not only just all the nations, we're going to have the power over all dominions. And that's a whole nother thing that, you know, on my channel later on, I'm gonna bring out about the dominions. You know what I mean? But that's a whole nother, like, there ain't gonna be no Gentiles that's partaking with us the same benefits that was promised to us through the covenant.
Yep.
Do you know what this made them in relationship to Yahweh and in relationship to Yahweh's still covenant people, the house of Judah? It made them Gentile. That's what it made them. They were the Goyim. They had become Gentile. And we just don't like this. Now, if you were paying attention, when we looked at Genesis chapter 48, Ephraim was promised to become a multitude of Gentile, a multitude of Goyim, right? And if you were thinking, wait a minute, how the hell, pardon my French, could Israelites become a bunch of Gentiles, right? Well, you know what? Right now is an honesty check. Check yourself. Be honest. See, this progression of Israel's infiltration into the surrounding nations, the Gentiles, you know what? It just makes a heck of a lot of sense in light of what was predicted and what we see happening. And if you stay with me, it's going to make a hell of a lot more sense in the New Testament when we get there. Israel was the prodigal son who didn't stay in their...
You know what will be interesting? It will be interesting to debate anybody that takes the position of the Gentiles, you know, receiving salvation, the nations receiving salvation. It would be interesting to agree to a debate like that. But every time you see the word Gentile, you only use the word goy, the original word. That would be interesting.
That thought goes back to the live I did about AI revealing who the Gentiles are in the New Testament, because it talked about that. And I remember Josiah, you know, a while back we was talking, he brought that concept up first about the original meaning of Gentile and how just by virtue of religion it changed over time. Because if you want to say Gentile means non-Israel, then there was always a point in time when Israel could be classified as Gentiles to some degree. It's always been that way.
Right.
You had Israelites in Canaan while the Israelites was still in Egypt before the first Exodus. Right.
Absolutely. Because they was all, yeah, absolutely. You had Abraham whole, like I like to mention, you feel me? Especially when you talk about the bloodline that of the covenant, you know, so you talk about the seed of Abraham. In Canaan, when he was receiving the promises, like he was like in there, you know, he was in the land of Canaan for a minute.
Yeah.
This man had 300 soldiers out of his house alone. Those are just his soldiers from his house. So with that being said, when you talk about the people that actually came from him, like part of his family, Like, man, probably up in the thousands.
Yeah.
And that's not even, and only 70 souls went over there to Egypt at that time. You got to think about all of our people that was still back in that land. And that's when you can go back to people like Rahab, you know what I mean, that was in Canaan, that let the spies in, that they try to say was a Canaanite, but obviously all logic will conclude that she was from the seed of Abraham, and this is how she could be included in the lineage of Yahushua in the first place. Because why would the Most High allow a full-blooded heathen in the lineage of the Messiah, Yahushua, that was from the seed of David? Like, the fact that they're in his lineage alone is proof enough that they had covenant blood.
Well, technically, that's an error that Rahab is in his lineage. You know what I mean? Because when you look at the time of Rahab and when she lived, she basically, just for reference sake, you can say she spoke to Joshua, right? She talked face to face with Joshua.
Yeah.
The time of Joshua was 450 years before the time of Samuel. Samuel is the one who anointed King David. Right. So if you look at the lineage in Matthew, right, it has her listed as David's great grandmother. How could that be possible?
David's great grandmother?
Yeah, when it talk about Rahab, because it say Rahab is Rahab, right?
Right.
How could that be Rahab if Rahab lived 450 years prior to the time of Samuel?
Depends on the length of, I mean, I can see, but that would depend on the length of each individual life in that current generation, right?
Yeah, I mean, if she was David's great grandmother, it's like this. How many people alive today have seen their great grandmother?
I know I haven't.
Right. I haven't either, but it's certain people that they still have their great grandparents. Very few that have their great grandparents, but there are some that have that. So you telling me David could have possibly seen Rahab, or Rahab could have possibly seen David as a baby?
Nah, I don't think. The only other way that I would say that listing is there, is either two things. It's either blatant and outright deception by adding to scripture, or in that context that you talk about, that she was 450, you said 400 years before Joshua.
Yeah. It tells you in Acts chapter 20.
It would have to be
Joshua, that they had judges for the space of 450 years until the time of Samuel.
Right.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, Samuel. Yeah, Samuel.
And the only place you can read where it says Rahab is Rahab is in the Strong's Concordance. You can't prove it biblically. I challenge anybody to prove it biblically that Rahab in the New Testament, Matthew 5, is Rahab, is Rahab the harlot.
So the only thing that I would have to say is the only other possibility would be that we would have to be talking about someone totally different.
That's the only conclusion, right?
Only conclusion, unless it's just blatant deception. But that's the only conclusion.
Now, I'm gonna tell you why they did it. They did it for the same reasons Christians like to run to Rahab to justify non-Israelites having salvation. Now all of a sudden Rahab, the Canaanite, quote unquote, is in the lineage of Christ. After the Most High made a declaration already about the Canaanite. What did he say about the Canaanites? He
no longer be in the land.
Utterly destroy them, right? Make no covenants with them, right? He was removing them from the land. But, I get it. People say that sometimes. I let it slide, but people need to know that that's an error. That's a fallacy according to biblical theology, right? If you have a biblical background in theology and seminary and all that, then 9 times out of 10, that's the understanding you learn from under that. It's a systemic understanding to put you in the mindset of non-Israelite people can be grafted in and all this kind of stuff. Nobody ever even gave it no thought. Damn, how could she be David's great-great-grandmother if she lived 450 years prior to Samuel, right? And that's talking about prior to him being born. Like, it's counting the exact time frame. Samuel was an adult when he anointed David. David was 9 years of age when he was anointed. You got to factor all of that in. Why are they trying to tell you Rahab was in the lineage of Christ?
Father's house with all its potential blessings. Instead, what did they do? Well, they went out whoring into the nations, and they wallowed in the muck, in the mire of the Gentiles and the gods of the Gentiles. That's what they did. But eventually, the elect would come running back, right, to their father, Abba, Father, through the opportunity of a new covenant, but we're going to get to that.
Did y'all hear? I'm going to rewind it back some because he's talking about the parable of the prodigal son, right?
But it just makes a heck of a lot of sense in light of what was predicted and what we see happening. And if you stay with me, it's going to make a hell of a lot more sense in the New Testament when we get there. Israel was the prodigal son who didn't stay in their father's house with all his potential blessings. Instead, what did they do? Well, they went out whoring into the nations, and they wallowed in the muck, in the mire of the Gentiles and the gods of the Gentiles. That's what they did. But eventually, the elect would come running back, right, to their father, Abba, Father, through the opportunity of a new covenant, but we're going to get to that. So, idolatry, unfaithfulness. You know what? That is just thematic throughout the prophets. Let me give you some Hosea chapter 4 miscellaneous verses. I'm going to kind of do a gunshot, rapid fire shot. Here you go. Hear the word of the Lord, you children of Israel, for the Lord brings a charge against the inhabitants of the land. That's Israel. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge because you have rejected knowledge. I will also reject you from being priests for me because you have forgotten the law of your God. I will also forget your children. My people ask counsel for wooden idols, and their staffs inform them, for the spirit of harlotry has caused them to stray. The sheep are straying. Though you, Israel, play the harlot, let not Judah offend, although they did in many ways. Listen to this. Ephraim, Genesis 48, Ephraim is joined to idols. Let them alone. Don't touch them. Let them go. I'll bring them back some other time. Let them go. Ephraim is joined to idols. Let them alone. Their drink is rebellion. They commit harlotry continually, and they have played the harlot against their God. How about Hosea 13:1? When Ephraim spoke, trembling, he exalted himself in Israel. But when he offended in Baal, as in Baal worship, he died. Now what do? They sin more and more and more and more. What's the result? Well, basically, Yahweh said, okay, Ephraim, I'm going to leave you alone. In fact, you know what? I'm divorcing you. I'm done. Continue with your pagan Gentile ways. Eventually, there'll be an opportunity for redemption through a new covenant marriage. But now, adios. Get out of here. Jeremiah 3:8. Then I saw that for all the causes for which backsliding Israel had committed adultery, I put her away and given her a certificate of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah did not fear, but went and played the harlot also. Man, you know what? All this is a little bit depressing, man, isn't it? Yeah, I think it is. Israel's first covenant and law were the ministry of death, according to Paul. It was the curse of the law. Remember, they were under the curse. Yes, there could be potential blessings, but let's face it, the curses of the covenant overtook them like a bunch of weeds. This was the condition. I like to call this the bad news. This was the bad news. They were overridden with the bad news. The first covenant produced the curse and the death, which was bad. It was the bad news. It was bad all over, bad to the bone. But the new covenant would produce life. And that was the good news. But I'm hoping that you see at this point right here, all these things are under the umbrella of covenant. Israel's covenant. And honestly, as of right now, you ain't in the story. I'm sorry. And if you think you are a Gentile that will eventually become invited into this story, well, I invite you to stay with me on this series, and we're going to look at that together. But we've got lesson 1 and we've got lesson 2. And right now, I hope you're following along and you're with me up to this point. Okay, so here's today's big takeaway. Here's the number one thing that I want you to remember in this lesson, okay? It's how Israel literally, actually became the Goyim, the Gentiles, by being scattered into the Goyim, the nations. Again, to separate from Israel, to become not my people, as Hosea 1 puts it, to be issued a divorce decree, as Jeremiah explains it, is to be placed outside the covenant community and become other than Israel. And that puts those who were scattered and assimilated into their respective pagan nations in the Gentile category, the Goyim category. This was the trajectory of their story, and this is what happened. Okay, that's it.
So I think about that. Pretty much breaking down the understanding that the Gentiles that Paul was speaking to weren't ethnic Gentiles. They were Israelites who had become Gentiles by virtue of scattering and assimilating into the customs and ways of the other nations. This is who Paul was preaching the gospel to when he went out. What y'all think?
What was that last part you said? What was the last part you said? This what you say?
What that
the last part you just said? You said what was Paul? You said something about Paul?
That the who the Gentiles were, who he was speaking to, like that was his mission when he went out, to speak to those people that had become Gentiles by virtue of scattering.
I mean, didn't he himself say he was an apostle to the Gentiles?
Yep.
So that was, and then he himself write letters to like Rome and Galatia and Corinthians and all of these different. I mean, he is the apostle to the Gentiles who are scattered Israel.
Plain to see.
Plain to see. And then not only him, he wasn't the only one. So was James. So was Peter. Just check they books out. First chapters. They're gonna tell you who they was writing to the scattered abroad, to the 12 tribes, in this place, that place. Like this, like Paul might have been that guy that was, but it wasn't just him. Like so, they're just two more witnesses to him that at the end of the day, the gospel was going out to scatter Israelites.
Wow. That word Gentile, boy. And so when you get that understanding, you gotta wonder, you know, for people who saying that Paul was dealing with ethnic Gentiles, you are saying that Paul's ministry was contrary to what the prophets established. That's what you're saying in essence. If his ministry was to non-Israelite or people who were not of the stock of Israel, even though they were classified as Gentiles, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're saying that his ministry was it was basically his own ministry that sprung up from a new.
And they try to say that. Not only do they try to say that, they do try to say that. You know what I mean, I've heard, you know, especially one particular brother I see like that you know really goes against Paul. You know, I've seen a lot of stuff, and they try to say that, you know, him meeting Yahshua on the road, you know, the voice is him saying the Messiah was over there, and then trying to use Matthews to disprove him and say that he's false. And I've seen all type of stuff, you know what I mean? That's, you know, try to say that he was this and he was that. And listen, bro, he was a man. He was fallible. He was willing to go to length to convert his people back to the law. Whatever his people was, that's what he was. If you was a thug, he was a thug. If you was uncircumcised, he was uncircumcised. If you was a liar, he was a liar. But he was going to get you in the truth. That's what I glean when I look at Paul.
Yeah. What you think, Josiah? Probably finna shut it down here soon.
Yeah, I sent that with the kids. Then Paul say he had the ministry of reconciliation.
Yeah.
And also he said he was the apostle of the Gentiles. So how he doing that to how he reconciling Gentile non-Israelites when reconciling has to bring back again?
Right. It's just once you understand that element, now you have to broaden your view of that Gentile in terms of how Christianity wants you to see it. Right? Could understanding that Israelites became Gentiles and how they became Gentiles, how do we know or not know that that's who Paul was reaching out to? Because you see that word and you automatically assume that all 12 tribes rejected Christ. When during the initial preaching of the gospel, it wasn't going out to non-Israelite people. The gospel was first preached by John in terms of that period, right? That's who paved the way. Who did he preach to? When John laid the way for Mashiach, who did he preach to?
The people in Jerusalem.
That's where he was, right?
In Jerusalem, yeah.
See? Now, we can prove that in the book of Acts. In chapter 13, in verse 24, it says, when John had first preached before his coming the immersion of repentance to all the people of Israel. Right? Now, when John was preaching, it was some people who showed up. Right? He said, O generation of vipers, who warned you from the wrath to come? Signifying that the warning or the protection from the wrath to come wasn't for everybody. You know, for that generation, it was speaking of 70 AD. During that time, he was calling all the people to repent. That was in Jerusalem. but it was some that rejected it, and we know who they were. So I just think that without that understanding, you missing a foundational part of dealing with it, you know.
Definitely. And just to hit back on that point that you made about Rahab, something that I did look up on the side that is probably worth mentioning. I mean, when you look at the genealogies in other places, if you see in Esdras chapter 7, verse 1 through 5, it skips 6 generations to establish the, like the lineage, the covenant lineage. It skips 6 generations from Azariah to Mariah. And so, and it also says here that, father of or begat can also mean ancestor of and not necessarily mean the immediate father. So maybe for the sake of brevity, when you get to that lineage in the New Testament, they're not completely chronologically naming every generation after generation, but just the prominent legal lineage, possibly. I think that's something worth noting. Maybe it's not that she was his actual great grandmother, but that she was within that lineage, because according to the law, you can marry in, like but they would count their lineage by the father's house according to Numbers, and so that could within that male lineage, which is listed from Boaz, that could be the case, possibly. You know what I mean? It's probably not just naming the direct chronological all the way from this point to that point, but like in Ezra chapter 7, how it skipped some generations to just kind of establish the lineage, it could have also likewise did the same thing. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I understand that part, but if you go look at the actual lineage in Matthew, right, we can just follow it all the way out. Like it tells you in Matthew 1, let me see. It says, so all the generations from Abraham to David are 14 generations, right? You can count 14 generations in this chapter from Abraham to David, Abraham to David.
Right. That's
you
true.
See what I'm saying? So you can, it's all in alignment. Then it says from David unto the carrying away of Babel are 14 generations. You can see that in alignment. When you get to the actual part of what they're saying in Matthew's chapter 1 and 5, you see a direct lineage, right? Salmon begat Boaz, right? Rahab. And Boaz begat Ruth, right? Or you can start at verse 4. And Aaron begat Aminadab. This is where it get kind of kind of iffy, because you can't really follow these lineages all the way out in the New Testament.
Right.
But in the Old Testament rather, but you see the 14 generations in the line.
And it says 14. It says from this point was that point was 14 generations. You know what I mean? So off top, I would have to say that the fact, that we see it, at least in the scripture, that we can see, in the book of Numbers, when they counted their house by their fathers. Now, could imply that it was some male that extended from Rahab's marriage, somewhere in that further along within that 14 generations. But she was mentioned possibly, as a because her entire story was similar to the Gentiles of the New Testament, which is reconciliation back to the covenant. When she's talking in the Old Testament, and when she's talking about Yahuwah, first of all, even mentioning the name of Yahuwah, if this was a pure heathen, this just simply wouldn't be possible, because the Most High wasn't known to them. He only gave our ancestors their name. So she demonstrates that she knows, whether it be from passed down tradition of family or whatever, that she has some sort of intimate knowledge with the covenant. Because it wasn't no heathen running around saying the name of the Most High. But she clearly did. And she clearly knew how he operated. So that kind of demonstrates that she has some idea of the inner workings of the covenant, which would have only been known to our bloodline. So these are worth noting.
I agree with that. You know, I just think
it's tricky. It's tricky. You know what I mean? I'm glad you brought that up. Now, I mean, I never thought of that. Now, I mean, so you working my brain right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of them things, you know, we just got to slow down and understand the motive behind certain things. You know what I mean? But I agree with the point that the Bible doesn't declare what she was, whether she was a Canaanite or whatever. And I even made this point. All right. Rahab is mentioned in Hebrews 11 for her faith and what she did by her faith, right? By faith, what did she do? She hid the spies, right?
Right. She let the spies in.
Basically, putting her life and her whole family's life on the line. So let's assume she was a non-Israelite. Would that be a commendable thing or a respectable thing if somebody put their life on the line for you? Would you not?
Not only would that be commendable and respectable, even according to the law, if she was to get taken in, like even if she went through the whole process, shave your head, shave your nails, you know how they made the stranger do from the women when they came in, and one wanted to take a virgin of the strangers. That was the regulation for her. She had to do this, she had to do that, even if that's what it was. I mean, it's commendable that happened, and whatever seed that she had was likely counted by the father's house, which was probably an Israelite. So she could have very well been a heathen. I honestly, I think she was within the bloodline of Abraham, just because of her knowledge of the covenant. She had to have some type of knowledge of it, and that was not accessible to the other nations. So that's just what I think. But even so, like you know, you marry an Israelite man, you know, then obviously it's his seed, and that's just according to numbers how they was counting it at that time. I mean, how they counted their house. I mean, that's not to say that, you know, your mother's seed don't count or that the woman don't have a seed. We see the woman have a seed in Genesis. Now, I mean, I'm just saying, when you just strictly hear about what they was doing in the law.
Well, you know, in any case, if you want to say she was a non-Israelite, all right, her example, and they want to say it's about faith and all of that. Her example of her faith was shown in the scriptures. So she didn't just, and this is the thing, right? She wouldn't need salvation if that was the case. Just like our forefathers, they don't need salvation. They already in paradise. We're the ones awaiting the day and the time of our salvation. So you can't use Rahab to justify salvation for non-Israelites.
Would you count that after he was crucified and all of that, and all of the souls getting raised up from the dead from Sheol, would you count that as salvation?
Yeah. Like I said, they already
got it. Yeah.
They're already recipients of that. So
you're right.
salvation to come is for us.
Right, you're right.
And so if you want to use Rahab as an example, we're the Gentiles that are following her example.
Exactly. Like the last one we seen, the last one we know of is the one is the one that worshiped him because he gave us some mercy. The one that, the dog's bread. That's the last one we've seen that demonstrated that sort of faith, and she and that was because she worshiped him. She felt like she worshiped him, so he was like, oh, you got some faith there. You know what I mean? She seen what other Israelites ain't see. You know what I mean? Because they say that he wasn't worshipped, but he was.
Yeah. When you a dog and you in need, you'll bow down and worship anything. You know what I'm saying?
Especially when it comes to some food.
Yeah.
You gonna sit, you gonna listen. The dog, you will never train a dog in his life. You got some food in your hands and tell it to sit, he gonna sit down.
Yep. But see, dogs have a sense of humility, and that was the whole point. Like he's saying to her, my people don't even have the humility that you showing.
Great is your faith.
It's like even, you'll feed a stray every once in a while, Man, get that dog that and get a shoe on somewhere,
Yeah.
But to y'all be the glory, man. I'm gonna shut it down, bro. We gotta really reconsider, man, when it comes to dealing with Paul and his letters, because this is the thing. We all know what the end is gonna be. And ain't nobody gonna be able to blame Paul or anything like that. Paul's name is already written in the book of life. So you got to think about this. Somebody's lying. Either we lying or they lying. Paul said what he said. He put it out there, and we have it in front of us today. But somebody's lying because Paul is already established in the kingdom. He gonna be there. Right. Somebody's twisting up what Paul is saying, and whoever's twisting up what Paul is saying, the book says to your own destruction. So there's a heavy penalty behind twisting up what Paul is saying. If Paul is saying that non-Israelite bloodline people can receive salvation, and we're saying that that's not what it's saying, what does that mean for us?
All right. Exactly. That's crazy. That's a double glory. That's a
but see, whoever's, you got two groups saying Paul saying this, saying Paul saying that. But Paul already in position. He already got the promise waiting for him. He gonna be in the kingdom.
Hey yo, bro, did you see Brother Ricard video?
Ricard, no.
He said he put out, you ain't see what he put, he recently put it out. He put out $1,000 challenge to anybody that can prove with the Bible that Cornelius was an Israelite.
Yeah, Kadar mentioned that to me.
I seen that. I was like, man, he already trying to limit the scope by saying with the Bible. But I thought about that piece that Raleigh put up, Spiritual B put up on Facebook, where he talked about a guy, Israelite named Logan, and he had his brother Cornelius, jumped in. You know what I mean? It was I don't know if you got his page on Facebook, but he had put that information up on it. He posted that, and that was the first time I actually seen that, even though that's from like a Roman historical source. You know what I mean? But that was interesting. But I found it interesting that he put that video out, because I was like, man, well, this is I was like, well, you could just, you need to prove to me, I give you $1,000 if you prove to me that he wasn't an Israelite. Using the Bible. using the Bible.
all of that is just really letting you know that he ain't gonna pay up no way. Like nigga ain't gonna give you no $1,000. Right.
Right. That's why he limited the scope to just the Bible, because he know better.
He ain't gonna do that. You know, that's first and foremost. I like for you to tag me in that source you're talking about, because I have a source too proving that there were Jews in the Roman military, and that a lot of them, it was hard to tell whether they were Jews because of their Roman and Italian names.
I'm gonna tag you in it right after this. It's right on Facebook. I'm gonna tag you in it. Now, I mean, it's interesting. It was like, wow, I've never seen that before. I was like, whoa, that's concrete right there. That's crazy. I got you.
I'd love to see that. But as far as that challenge, man, he can stuff it, man. Because the thing about it is this: all that's motive driven.
Yeah,
it's motive driven. I've seen the pictures of him and what he do, what he like, what he into, and I'm just saying like that.
All right.
Some lame shit, man, and is deceptive, is wrong. I'll give $1,000. You know, prove that he was a bloodline Italian by using the Bible.
Exactly. Can't be done. Right. You could prove he was an Italian soldier, Italian band.
Prove he was an Italian by blood by using the Bible, because if you're saying that he was a Gentile, then you're saying that's what he was. And if you're saying he's an Italian, what does that make him by saying he was an Italian? What does that make him by lineage according to that time?
Right.
Who had mixed in with Japhet and with Chittim during that time? Well before that time.
Right, that'll make him an Edomite, a Roman Edomite.
And he even, I think he mentioned that.
Oh, no, I was just mentioning. I mean, even back in the, bro, yeah, he got that jungle fever on him. I mean, even back in the days, like he been trying to say them. I ain't surprised. I just thought it was interesting that he would issue a challenge like that and then try to limit the scope, like,
yes.
Like that, like that's ridiculous, bro.
Using the Bible, but see, I can use the Bible, right? Anybody want to do it? I'm gonna put this out there, right? Because I don't really give a damn about none of that. Because, like you say, when Cornelius, let me see this. This is Acts. Let me see something real quick. I don't got this written out, but when you go read Acts the 10th chapter, and the portion when Cornelius is explaining himself, it says he went up to pray, right? Let me see. Let me see something. Wait a minute. It said he went up to pray. All right. Let me see. Acts chapter 10, right? And Cornelius chapter 30. And Cornelius said, 4 days ago, I was fasting until this hour, and at the 9th hour I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing. Now, matter of fact, let me put this up on the screen real quick, because this is a detail right here that goes right over people's heads when it comes to dealing with Cornelius. All right. And Cornelius said, 4 days ago, I was fasting, right? He was fasting. Where, if Cornelius is a Gentile, right? Just a white man Luigi looking dude sitting up there, right? Where did he get the knowledge to fast, and who is he fasting to? He had to have some knowledge, right? You would assume that.
Right.
He was fasting, and it says, until this hour, and at the 9th hour, I prayed in my house, and behold, a man stood before me in bright clothing, right? That sounds like the same thing Enoch went through.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing Daniel went through, or somebody like that. They prayed, they fasted, and what happened?
And that's how you know that he had covenant blood, because he's doing covenant things like fasting. Like if you think the nations was out here fasting.
Oh, but check this out, bro. You may, and I like that point. Covenant things, right?
Mm-hmm.
It says, and at the 9th hour. What's so significant about the 9th hour that he prayed? And how did he know to pray the 9th hour?
That's the evening. That's the new day, right?
Well, check this out. I'm gonna show you what's so significant about the 9th hour. Acts 3:1. Now Peter and John went up together into the temple at the hour of prayer, being what?
The 9th hour. That's a banger. Wait, hold on. What's that? That's chapter. What book is that? What you want?
Hey, that's for free. Go get your money. I don't even care.
Hey, yo, look. I got that. Just real quick, you feel me? I got that source pulled up. I'm gonna just read what I was saying. It said, one of them, a young man named Logan, committed an act worthy of memory. The Jews could not kill him and gave him a hand, begging him to get down to them. But his brother, Cornelius, standing in front of him, shouted to him that he would not disgrace his kind and did not bring shame on the Roman soldiers. And he, listening to him, drew his sword in front of everyone and plunged into himself. Ooh. Wow. Wow. Only Arthur escaped from the fire by cunning. He called his comrade Lucius and loudly told him, I leave you the heir of your property. If you come and catch me, if you come and catch me. And when he quickly ran up, he fell on him and remained alive. Lucius was taken down by weight, and having fallen face to face with a stone, died. This cunning for a while disheartened the Romans, but then they learned to beware of the cunning of the Jews, because they were often harmed by the ignorance of the locality where the city stood and the custom of its inhabitants. And the galleries were burned to the Tower of John, which he built when he fought with Simon. The next morning, the Romans burned the northern galleries, and that's on the assassination of Jerusalem, the Slavonic Josephon Debo.
And that's talking about Cornelius.
Yeah, this is talking about a young man named Logan. He committed an act worthy of memory, and the Jews, they couldn't kill him and gave him a hand, begging him to get down. But his brother, Cornelius, this act of cunning, this is the act of cunning, standing in front of him, shouted to him that he would not disgrace his kind and did not bring shame and did not bring shame on the Roman soldiers. But if you go down, it says this cunning for a while disheartened the Romans, but then they learned to beware of the cunning of the Jews. Because it says only Arthur escaped from the fire by cunning. He called his comrade Lucius. It says, and he listened to him and drew his sword in front of everyone and plunged into himself. This is what Cornelius did, if I'm not mistaken. Now, I mean, and only Arthur escaped from the fire by cunning. He called his comrade Lucius and loudly told him, I leave you the heir of your property. And if you come and catch me, and when he quickly ran up, he fell on him and remained alive. And then down it says the cunning for a while disheartened the Romans, but they learned to beware of the cunning of the Jews, because they were often harmed by the ignorance of the locality where the city stood and the customs of its inhabitants. So this whole thing seems to be dealing with them going and trying to burn down the city or do something. Someone did something, know what I mean, and the Jews couldn't kill them. Know what I mean, obviously whoever did something violated in some sort of way, like the law or whatever that the Jews was trying to kill him for. Because as soon as you violate, they quick to try to stone you or kill you.
Yeah.
And then Cornelius jumps in like no. Now I mean, they couldn't kill him and gave him. Now I mean, but his brother jumped in, standing in front of him, saying, "I'm not about to, I'm not about to disgrace my kind." Now I mean, so that's what it seems to be saying to me. This is what he posted. I'm gonna tag you in it. You could read it. We could probably look at the source itself.
Okay.
Know what I mean? But that's another that I found that interesting. I'm like, wow, that's crazy. You feel me? So,
Yeah.
and these Italian names that you mentioned, like how it was hard to there was Jews over there in the Roman soldiers. That's a historical fact, and they did have Italian names, and then they do go down to the well, some say they go down to all the way to Sicilians, the dark-skinned Italians.
Yep. That's
what
I'm saying. A lot of them are lost in history, and you'll never know that they were Jews because of their names.
And they act like we were scattered everywhere but these places. Like Rome.
Yeah. The only way you'll find out is if you did like some hard archaeological proof, and found out that kind of thing. But who's gonna go that far, right? You see a dude. Like for instance, let me do this again, right? If you go throughout Acts, not Acts, but Romans, the 16th chapter, and you look at all of these people in this chapter, right? Greek, Roman names of all these people. Let me do it like this. Because the Bible I'm reading out of now is it's a Hebrew translation. Let me get my other book real quick.
Word.
I gotta read it out of this because then y'all know what I'm trying to say. There's just like with what's his name in Acts 18. Who was that? I forget his name. Acts 18. Let me get it. When Paul Aquila and Priscilla.
Yeah.
Right. Aquila, that's like a Greek.
Mm-hmm.
Priscilla, those are like Greek names. Timothy, Timotheus, Timothy, that's Greek. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I looked up my name. My first name is a European name, Eric. It's like a Norse Viking, within those tribes. That's where you find that name mostly. Eric.
My first name is Arabic, for generous, Karim.
Acts 16. I keep saying Acts. Romans 16 and 1. Let me see. It say, and I still got Acts pulled up on here. Hold on. Bear with me. It say Phoebe, right?
Mm-hmm.
I ain't gonna lie. Phoebe sound like
the white girl name right there. The freckles. That's the freckle name.
Phoebe.
Phoebe.
Then it mentioned Priscilla and Aquila again right here. right? You go down, you got Miriam again right there. Then look at this, Andronicus,
Andronicus.
right? Junia. Those are Greek names,
Right.
right? Look at this,
My kinsman.
Amplius, right?
Mm-hmm.
Urbanos. These are all Israelite people.
Yep.
Achilles,
Aristobulus.
Aristobulus, like Shaq, the great Aristotle, you know, the faggot Greek homosexual philosophers.
Yeah, right.
All faggots.
The heliocentric dog.
Herodian, right? They try to say this Herod. Ain't no damn Herod.
All right, nah, yeah, hell nah. Not his kinsmen, they tripping.
You know, look at this. Narcissus. Look, these is niggas' names, bro.
Hey, word though. He
You
probably
know,
was a narcissist too. You feel? You never know.
Tryphena. Right? Tryphena and Tryphosa. That's what it's saying the regular. They had to be like some twins or something.
Right. Perses.
Ghetto twins. Salute the beloved
Perses.
Rufus. These are Israelite people living in Rome.
A syncretist.
Like you know, come
Play
on.
God. That shit sound like a whole foreign god.
Exactly. Because a lot of these names do stem from their gods.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we have to surname ourselves back to the Most High. Patrobus.
So we gotta get that white stone.
Hermes, right? Y'all see all this?
Mm-hmm. Julia?
Nereus. Olympus. Like, that's a nigga's name, bro. Olympus.
My name Olympus.
All the saints which are with them. Who are the saints? These are saints.
Right.
Look at their names.
He just gave a shout out to the whole squad.
Timothy. Look.
All right.
Jason.
Lucius. Didn't we just name? What we just reading about Lucius?
Sosipater. That's somebody's name. Tartios. Y'all get what I'm saying. Gaius. Erastos.
That dude Lucius' name literally popped up in this.
Quartos. Right? Y'all get what I'm saying? So when you want to look at Cornelius, right?
Right, yeah. You can't, you can't just try to say because of his name. You can't say that. You can't use that at the CNS.
Cornelius.
Yeah, you can't use that.
I got a cousin named Cornelius.
You can't use that, but they might try to ask why he ain't shout out Cornelius. Why he ain't shout out Cornelius then?
Man,
you know, it's always going to be something.
Because Cornelius was at work.
Right.
He wasn't in the congregation. He was a centurion.
Yeah, right. He was out there beating skulls in.
They had their unction. Like when the soldiers asked John the Baptist, what should they do? Right? He told them, man, be content with your wages. Don't mistreat your people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on, y'all. It's becoming clearer and clearer the more we remain steadfast in this truth, man. To me, it is. It's becoming clearer and clearer that these were our people in different facets of life, different cultures, different places that had become engrafted into those things. And think about yourself. Think about yourself, son Judah. when the Most High opened your eyes up, it was in the midst of you believing whatever it was you believed. You thought you was an American, right?
Right. Thought I was black. I mean,
All of that. You know what I'm saying? You was raised up in American culture. And I'm just saying that for example, you know. But when you heard when he said my sheep know my voice, think about what he meant by that. Not everybody hear this truth. It resonates with them.
yeah, see, that's the thing about the ache, man. Like when you hear that resonate, that ache, that it draws inward. Like you feel that. If I could try to describe it, when I first was learning and hearing the truth, it wasn't excitement, right? It wasn't impatience. It was more like an inward sense of urgency that had to be contained. Made you want to do something. Made you want to go further. You know what I mean? But I couldn't. I wouldn't exactly call it like I was excited and jittery or anything like that. When you dealing with internally how the truth make you feel, when you hear the call and you hear the Father calling you, when you hear the truth for the first time and you wake up, it's like something that's hard to contain and it makes you go further.
Yep.
That's that ache.
Yep. I'm telling you, man. If you know what I know, how I know it, when you heard this truth, it instantly resonated with you.
Yep. It was like not only did the truth make sense, everything made sense.
Everything. So now I ain't anxious no more, you know, like I was.
Right. You had that peace beyond all understanding.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's the difference in not knowing and seeing your condition and knowing and understanding why. You know what I mean? But in any case, man, this been a good one, bro. I appreciate you, brothers, as always. You know, y'all know how we rock, man. We family over here. So both channels we operate as one. So whatever side you on, we appreciate it. Make sure you do everything, like and subscribe. We appreciate all that. Shout out to the brothers once again. You know, Kadar, Josiah, brother Yash. I'm gonna have to hit him up probably tomorrow. Chop it up. But yeah, man, this is what it come down to. You know, if Paul is saying that non-Israelite people will receive salvation in that day, then that means that our position is flawed and we stand in the way of judgment. And it's the same for the flip side. I'm willing to stand on the gospel only being for one people and salvation only being for one people. Because that's the whole theme throughout the scripture and it don't change. I don't have to stand in doubt or worry about, you know, if I'm gonna be condemned for where I stand, because like the Bible say, we have an inward witness. And that inward witness, no matter what nobody say, can't nobody do nothing about that inward witness. Nobody can tell you or me or nobody that we're not the people.
Right. And when you wrong in these scriptures, and I don't care whether you admit it or not, when you wrong and you come across right information, I mean, the conviction of the spirit is real and certain. You know what I mean? Like you can feel when something needs to be, when you need to stop and kind of take a step back. You know what I mean? When you come across new information that might bring clarity to old information or even contradict some information you may have misunderstood. If you really walking in the faith, the Most High that spirit is going to convict you right then and there. It's going to take some effort, you know, to even, you know, conceal it rather than you just, you know, surrendering. and obedience to the truth. Know what I mean? And that conviction is real, and your spirit convicts you. If our spirits would have, this awakening would not have reached this level on no shaky foundation. This awakening is worldwide. It cannot be stopped, and not only that, but it's active opposition and interference against it constantly 24/7. We need to get beyond the point where we trying to confirm the truth, of what obviously is, and we need to just accept the fact that we the people and walk in that and walk in our covenant promises. But thank you for having me on, bro. I appreciate it. Always willing to come lend some support. It's your brother, son Judah. Check me out. I'm gonna be releasing another video soon. That's all I can say on the matter, but it'll come. And I appreciate everybody for checking them out. Come subscribe to my channel if you like. Future King Productions, Future King PROD. And learn some spiritual warfare and be careful when you're doing it. And listen to some music too. I got some music coming. I'm working on that. Thank you, brother E. All praise the Most High, Yahuwah, Holy One of Israel. Glory to Hamashiach, Yahushua. Shalom.
Praise y'all, my brother. Appreciate it. Future King Productions over on YouTube. Go check that out. And we're going to be dealing with here in the near future the work that the brother been doing with the AI and a lot of different revelations and confirmations of things that he been able to come across. So that'll be a good thing to get into, to encourage our people. All praise to the Most High once again, brothers and sisters. Much love to y'all. Y'all always hanging tough with us. We appreciate it. You know what I mean? We just go. Whatever the time marker is, we let it be that. But to y'all be the glory. See y'all on the next one. Shalom and blessings once again. I'm trying to think. I had something else to say, but it slipped my mind. So I guess next time I see y'all, if it come up, I'll bring it out. But shalom nonetheless. See y'all on the next one. Peace.
There are people suffering. They're looking for something to look up to. They're looking for a change.